Russia warns Joe Biden it will retaliate against any U.S. sanctions over Alexei Navalny.
Here's a summary of the article.
Russia has warned that it will retaliate against any American sanctions imposed over the imprisonment of anti-corruption and pro-democracy campaigner Alexei Navalny, who was jailed for almost 3 years on Tuesday. Moscow is facing international outrage over its treatment of Navalny, who has long been harassed by law enforcement and Kremlin loyalists for his campaign against President Vladimir Putin's dictatorship and the corruption rampant among Russia's rulers and their oligarch allies. Navalny returned to Russia in January after several months in Germany, where he was recuperating from an assassination attempt by Russia's FSB Secret Service. President Joe Biden's administration has spoken out against Navalny's arrest and imprisonment. Russia is already under broad American sanctions in response to its invasion of eastern Ukraine, its meddling in foreign democratic elections and its covert assassination attempts against dissidents abroad. Moscow has tried to frame such measures as Russophobic and baseless. Didn't they promise sanctions last week, a month ago, 6 months ago? Zakharova asked when discussing potential action over Navalny. Even as we work with Russia to advance U.S. interests, we will coordinate closely with our allies and partners to hold Russia accountable for failing to uphold the rights of its citizens, Blinken added.
This post received a score of 23,000, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
How about just enforce the Magnitsky Act? Don't need new sanctions, take their money.
Clearly they didn't learn their lesson after the Magnitsky Act, so we need a stronger version of it.
The Magnitsky Act didn't make a dent. Because the banks, Deutsche, Danske, and probably every other bank they tried, were willing and able to launder their money on a massive scale. There's nothing wrong with the Magnitsky Act. There's something terribly wrong with the regulation of banks.
It clearly had an impact with the way Putin wanted Browder's head on a silver platter after they were introduced.
Not to mention the Trump Tower meeting about adoptions. Russia's retaliation to the Magnitsky Act was to ban Americans from adopting Russians. The meeting was most likely about potentially reversing sanctions and the adoption ban. Whether or not they're getting around it, Putin is not a fan of the Magnitsky Act.
Jesus, I completely forgot about the adoption meeting. The last 4 years have been wild.
This last season took up all my brain's RAM. What a finale.
Biden sanctions Russia. Russia sanctions American businesses operating in Russia as retaliation. Trump Organization gets sanctioned by Russia. The real 5D chess move. Ha ha ha.
The real 5D chess move would have been to extract as many sensitive information as possible from Trump and wait until he leaves power to use them at their advantage. Like if a less friendly U.S. administration decided to stand up to Russia. Putin is probably as cunning as he is evil. There is no way that he didn't get every bit of useful info that he could use against the U.S. while having Trump in his pocket. The guy is former KGB after all.
I don't want to downplay the seriousness of the national security danger that Trump posed vis-a-vis Russia. However, in order for Trump to personally be useful to Russia in this way, he would have had to actually pay attention to national security issues. The man was getting dumbed-down briefings for years and couldn't even be bothered to sit through those.
Not necessary for him to. It's quite obvious that the guy is dumb. Advising some great people for Trump to hire in his administration who do pay attention though, that's another story. Do you really think that for the right amount of money Trump would have refused to only hire some people his good friend Putin recommended to him? A corrupt moron who only cares about himself and owes a lot of money at the head of a government is the best possible asset any foreign intelligence service could ever dream of.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.